Hello to you, our fine feathered friends. Welcome once again to You Don't Say, Conversations with the Loquacious Mr. Dwayne.
That is me.
I am the lethargic former professor, Blake Newhem Valenzuela.
I'm not experiencing you as lethargic, just so
No.
you know. Maybe you're feeling lethargic. I don't want to take your feelings away from you.
Don't steal my adjective.
Your adjectives are my adjectives.
We are two guys publicly discussing coming to one mind
Yes.
in order to do a book to address people's hopelessness and sort of lack of tools about how to deal with the world being literally on fucking fire. If you spend any time at all on social media, even if you're not addicted as I am, you can easily find yourself doom scrolling and just not wanting to wake up with all the shit that's happening. So we need to get organized, right?
Yes.
And you are a traditionally trained, self-trained.
Well, I did learn from others, but I did.
Yeah.
Then I, used my own strategies to organize. But I did.
Organizing.
Yeah.
And made some money on that. And right now you're giving away some of that advice for free.
Which the taxpayers paid for.
And you had to organize campaigns.
Yes.
Major political
causes.
Legislation. All
Yes.
of that requires a great amount of organizing skills, and also mobilizing people is an organizational skill.
Yes.
And then you retired and took a break and started taking care of yourself. And now all of a sudden you got to do that again. So I think that we should do in our book a chapter on getting organized, right? What is the language we use around that? What are the key tools we can offer people? How do we think about it? And we have talked, our regular listeners will realize about the state of our affairs and our actual lives, and they're a bit frayed at the edges.
Well,
okay.
Everybody's got stuff.
Everybody's got stuff. We're not stigmatizing
And we function
it.
anyway.
Yeah. So you had professional organizer at your house.
Yesterday I did.
Okay. How did that go as a first foray into...
It went very well.
Okay.
Although
Good.
I didn't pay a lot of attention to what he was doing, but that's good because I trusted that he wasn't doing anything that would have made me unhappy. I mean, there are a couple of things I said, no, I don't throw those out. But, other than that, things were fine.
That's amazing. So
Yeah.
you took a step and it's working.
He was second only so far to St. Jenny, who was the first organizer I got, coincidentally, more than a decade ago. And she changed my life. And when she left New York to move, because her husband got a job elsewhere, I cried because she said she just literally changed my life. And when my mom passed away, she came to New York and helped to organize, giving away my mother's everything. And it's
very good to have some help with that.
It was wonderful. She got my quirks. Like many organizers say, no, that belongs here, not here. But no, things belong where I think they belong. And she did not shame me around that even.
Okay.
She was like, she got that's how I was. And if there was something we were working on it and all of a sudden I would hit a roadblock, she would be like, well, let's go work in another spot now. You know what I mean? She's just really, really good and gentle. And finally, I could leave her alone in my apartment and do stuff and trust that everything was going to be fine.
Yeah.
And that was what was so... And I just loved her as a person. And there were a lot of things that, we ended up became... I consider her one of my best friends, even though I never see her. But she was kind of from a conservative background. And, I am not, well, I'm from a conservative background, but, I was doing all this gay and abortion stuff and blathering on about all these liberal causes. And I think it was eye-opening for her because she'd never been to a big city like New York City to live for an extended period of time. Anyway, when she went back home, the next time I spoke with her, she's like, oh, so much has changed. My sister came out as a lesbian and blah, blah, blah. So I do think I was like, and she said to me, she was afraid to tell me that she was a member of the Junior League. And I was like, no, I think that's great to be a member of the Junior League because they actually do good work. And it was like, I had someone who worked for me in Albany, and she was afraid to tell me she was a cheerleader. I was like, no, I think that's great that you were a cheerleader. Anyway, I'm very non-judgmental about other people's stuff, and she was non-judgmental towards me.
You have to trust a person that you're working
Yes.
with who has your stuff is
personal.
I think for those of us who have trouble throwing stuff out because we might need it someday, it's hard. Everything has some kind of either nostalgic value or emotional value, and that's good, right? We should have our own stuff around us. To bring someone into that environment, you have to trust that they're not going to mess up your life. Their goal is to help you get
to live your life more easily.
Right. And so how was this guy, the new guy, let's give him a name.
Hugo.
Your sense was even by the end of the other day, you could kind of trust him to follow your directions.
Yeah, he seemed to get my systems pretty easily.
So the interesting thing about what you're saying is things do belong somewhere.
They live someplace.
Okay, that's why I think of it too. And right now you've got stuff that isn't living where it goes?
No.
Okay, so he could help you determine where
permanent
stuff lives.
They're permanent homes.
Okay.
That makes sense to me.
Does some of your stuff live in the dumpster, but you haven't determined that yet?
No. I got rid of a lot of stuff I don't want to go through my trauma, which is years ago, and I'm ashamed of it because it's just so much. But I want to say one important thing about this, if you don't mind. I'm going to jump and say that don't not live your life because you're not completely organized. I used to have this 100%. Thing like, when I lose, 20 pounds, then I can start living. No. When my apartment's organized, then I can start. No. You gotta. It's okay. Yeah. You live your life.
I'm so glad you said that. We're on the same exact page, and that's a lesson I need to hear for sure, because I think that your system, you're much more comfortable with how you're living your life than I am, right? Because you know what's important. You've decided already what's important. This thing is taking a back burner because it's not as important. And that's a balance, right? If I get to that, I'll get to it. In the meantime, there's important shit to do.
Yes, and I don't like that it takes up time sometimes when something's not living where it's supposed to be. That's what bugs me the most.
Yeah, I don't like looking for shit. I spend a lot of my time looking for shit.
Sucks.
Especially with papers. I don't have stuff around the house like old toasters, but I do have.
No, I don't either. Or cans of beans that I
my
cleaned out or
papers
something.
are a wreck, and they always have been since kindergarten. Always with a messed up trapper keeper or the bottom of my locker, which at the end of the year my mom has to give me a hefty bag. Because a part of it is that I save everything. And at one point I read when I was in college, you should only touch every piece of paper once.
I'm sorry, that's totally ridiculous. Because
first time you don't know
sometimes you have to think about where it's going to go.
Well, yeah, process later.
I mean,
everything winds up in process later.
Do you pay every bill as you open up the envelope? No, you put all your bills in a pile and then you pay them all at one time.
I wish I could just be better at that. It bothers me that I'm not organized with my stuff. I keep endless notebooks, even though we're way past to-do lists. I have to do it because it frees up my brain so that I can sleep at night. I have to remember what I have to do.
You know what bothers me? It's not so much that things are not where I want and cluttered. What bothers me is I have cleaned out other people's apartments when they've died, right? And my goal is to make it so that when I die, it won't be difficult for someone to clear out my apartment. I want to do it myself.
Got a long way to go.
No, yes and no. You'd be surprised at it because I'm not as nothing. I don't do anything as quickly as I used to. I was just talking about this with a therapist, actually. I know how to do all the same things. I'm just not as fast at it as I used to be, which is a little bit frustrating.
And there also is this extra burden of the fact that you're a public official in an historical time. And so there is a legacy necessity to save stuff. Oh. And now the problem is now when we need all that for the book, it's in 50 different places. None of it's where it lives, but at least it exists.
Well, a lot of it is in one place. A lot of it is in the LaGuardia Wagner archives. A lot of it, but not all of it. And
But even there, it's mixed with cocktail napkins signed by Hillary Clinton.
No. They put, there's boxes of stuff they didn't want that I have to actually look at because there's probably stuff. By the way, obviously I've lived without it, so how important could it be? But there might be like a couple of sentimental things. The other thing is, some things with Jenny, I would start crying when we were going through something.
I love that about you. I'm the same way. I'm the exact same way. I save everything because maybe it's important.
But if I cry, I cry about it, and then I'm ready to let it go. It's a memory that it just, I don't know.
For our listeners, then there's 3, I think, important ways to think about this and to talk about it. The first one is, what's the purpose in getting organized? If you can't figure out the purpose, then don't do it. Just live your life. You're fine. The second word is balance. The only way you feel unbalanced, and this is what started our whole hoarder fight, was my impression was you were telling me you were uncomfortable living in that environment, and so I was trying to help. And if it's fine, then it's fine. Like if there's no purpose to it. So right now you've got a purpose, which is you've got a new crew involved. You have to get yourself sort of like in that Rocky montage, ready for this new big fight, because you could be a voice, and you've got all these new ventures going on. So you do have to get a little bit more organized.
I have never let it stop me from functioning.
Right.
And the issue is when I'm not functioning at full speed.
Right.
That's the only time it bothers me. But it's not holding me back when I am functioning at full speed. But I look at it when I'm not functioning at full speed, and then it bothers me because then I have time to think about that instead of what I'm going to do to change the world.
I could learn that from you because I get non-functioning when it's too much stuff. If I look at this, like, oh, look here, return recorder to Sam. I did that like 3 weeks ago.
Did you cross it off?
No, I didn't.
See?
So
that's the problem.
And it's so satisfying. Have you ever written something down just to cross it off because you just did it?
I never cross anything off. That's my problem. I find these lists in my archaeological dig. Nothing is crossed off, but everything important that was on that piece of paper, I have done it. And the stuff that's not important was not important. It's, the strangest thing.
If you take somebody's to-do list, you could tell a lot about their life. So on my personal list, there's glue tooth.
Glue tooth?
Glue tooth. One of my caps came off like a month ago.
Are you supposed to glue it, or are you going to take a professional will take the responsibility of gluing it? We need to get you a dental plan.
Yeah.
Okay, folks.
We
got to make this podcast a huge success so we can get Blake a dentist.
Balance.
Get Blake a dentist.
Balance. And then I want to just go back to the difference between important and urgent. We live most of our, and this is not my idea, it's been around since the 70s. We live most of our life doing the urgent shit. Like that's where we feel the pressure. And we ignore all the important stuff that we need to do. Like leaving a legacy is very important. Being there in our relationships is very important. Taking care of our health is so important. All the critical, important stuff that we need to do, we almost never do. We just keep putting it off.
Because self-care is the hardest thing of all for people like us. Maybe not for everybody, but for people like us, self-care is a challenge.
It's never urgent until you have a fucking cardiac arrest or you have some acute compound tib-fib fracture. And then you're like, oh, I need to take care of my
Or you have a ton of money and you get people to take care of you taking care of yourself, which is,
So I think that's a tool that I just wish I could have like a little, I don't know, like a little alarm or something that beeped like a continuous glucose monitor.
We should try the buddy system. If when we get to the point where we don't kill each other, we might be able to be helpful with that, with like encouraging each other to do the important stuff because that'll free us up to keep doing the critically important stuff that we're going to be doing. I mean, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but it's maybe a strategy we could try out.
I mean, maybe it may be already better. Like, and I think I also want to do this for our listeners and for our readers, like offer this community where we're working through our own shit in order for you to have ideas about how to do things. And maybe this important versus urgent thing is helpful. Obviously, we had right before we started, we had to start late because there's a fire in the building. And everybody's fine, no problems. But That's important and urgent.
Yes.
Okay, so you always have to do those.
Well, since 9/11, any alarm going
Exactly.
off is like
very rarely are things both important and urgent.
Yeah.
Where we spend most of our time, people, is in the things that aren't urgent and aren't important, like social media.
I try not to look at social media too much. On the subway, I'll look at it.
You're a better man than I am.
But if I sit at home and I start looking at it, like hours can go. So I don't. I just don't do it. I only do it now because I have to do social media.
Yeah.
So, but it's part of my job now.
Yeah.
So
I wasn't including our stuff.
No, but you know what I mean. Like I'm more engaged in it.
Yeah, I think that part of this, the outward stuff, like my file cabinet of stuff I can never find, and all of the things I've saved on Facebook and on TikTok, just get to later, contests I want to enter, and places I want to go. Like I think it's an ADHD behavior to do that because you're hopeful that you're.
Yes, someday.
And it just seems like it's getting organized.
List.
And yeah, it's the someday list, and maybe, but then I have no idea where shit is. Like there's a restaurant I want to go to. Where did I save that? Was that on TikTok? Was that on Instagram? Was that on Facebook? Was it on Blue Sky? Was it an email? Which email? My Ghost to the Future email? My Newhem.com email? One of the client emails? Was it on somebody's project management software? Which one? Which client?
Are you like paralyzed till you find it? Or can you go on?
That's a really good question. I think I tend to get fixated and paralyzed. Even when I'm writing, it's very hard. And I've taught writing for years, and I'll tell people, just free write and don't worry, leave a code for yourself, like a question mark or whatever. And get back to it later so you don't ruin the flow. For me, I consider myself that I should have already mastered it so that I could think of that word, and I sometimes can't go on. I do have to do it, the research part or the whatever in the meantime.
I'm obsessive about something different.
Okay.
Well, you may share this. Like, nothing ever should go out with my name associated that's not perfect spelling, punctuation, syntax. No, never. All right. So say there was buzzing earlier here, which people don't know about, which was exciting, but I would never give up. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to fix it. And it could take 3 hours. That's my obsessive stuff. Like, it's not so much not finding something. It's I'm going to do this. Yeah. I'm going to like prove that I can do it. I'm going to do it. And I'm like, it's not, how important is it? I mean, it was kind of important.
This was kind of important.
But you know.
Luckily, our engineer here, Sam Small, fixed it in 15 minutes.
Thank you, Sam.
Maybe it had something to do with the fire next door. I don't know.
I was thinking that also. That's why I wanted to call him in to help us
so
out.
So I noticed this before because we were very disorganized in our recent Culebra trip going to look at your property.
You experienced it as disorganized. And
insofar as we went on a wild goose chase for an hour.
Can I explain what the issue was? I have only ever gone there with me driving. I was not, he's rolling his eyes. I was not driving, and I knew there was a problem when we passed a certain point that we must have missed it. I was not sitting where I normally would be sitting in the vehicle where I would have found it immediately, and it took a long time to find it. And I should have just said, let me fucking sit in the driver's seat and I'll find it. But you think that's impossible, that's true. But I am telling you, it is true because I have been it would have been automatic pilot, but I wasn't sitting in the pilot seat.
But I offered that to you, including pulling over to the side of the road in frustration like 10 times.
You wanted to drive, and I didn't want to take the driving away from you.
Oh my God.
Listen, I am that codependent. Like I was like, okay, well, I'll manage with you driving it. I'll suck it up. But it was a terrible idea. I should have just said, listen, sometimes I'm in a cab and I want to say, could you just get out and sit in the back and let me drive? Because I actually did drive a cab.
I was extremely eager to get there because I had to pee. And after
you're with someone important
60,
to you.
That's the other thing is we had somebody else in the car. I'm just talking about organization, like backup plan. but I think it's easier. You're being too hard on yourself because you're okay with that. Like you were okay on a wild goose chase.
I was upset that you were so like me. It was like, it's an adventure. What the hell? I mean, we're on a Culebra where time is slow. Like if we didn't find it till the next day, it wouldn't have made any difference because that's how everything is there. So,
I thought I and the guy in the back seat who you met for the first time and I was meeting for the second time, I think we were extraordinarily patient.
You may have not said stuff, but the energy was impatience. You were giving off impatient, and he wasn't, you were. And I want to say one other thing about feeling that your living space, your office is disorganized. Some people do shame people about that. But you're not coming to visit me to see if my apartment is organized. You're coming to visit me. You don't really care. I mean, maybe you do, but most people don't care what your apartment looks like. You know what I mean? They're not there for that. They're there to visit you. They're not going to focus on your, dysfunctional.
It depends upon
system.
whether I have a chair to sit in.
I always in my apartment, you can always sit outside on a chair when it's nice, which is lovely.
For those of you in listening land, interpret what that means.
What's that? What was...
Can always sit outside.
No, and when the weather's good.
How many square feet is the apartment?
My apartment?
It's huge.
Now, there's always places to sit. Some places better than others, but there's a couple of places to sit. I bought this beautiful chair, by the way, that I was going to sit in all the time, but as it turns out, it's now too low for me, so it's hard for me to push myself out of it. But you are welcome to use that chair anytime you want. It's a lovely, comfortable chair. I will, place it.
My goal is for you to feel happy and productive and effective and to have an environment where you can socialize like we do in the office. And
I don't want you to feel sorry for me in my apartment because it's not the way that you think it should be. I don't need your pity. It's not like I don't know what it looks like. I know what it looks like, and it's not always going to look like that. It's just taking a long time.
We're hitting on
See, this is where the fight. This is where the thing starts.
But we're hitting on something really important, which is values, right? Your organization. And in the same way that you pick what's in my critical 20% and what's in my important but not urgent, what is in the way that I organize my life, my time, my energy, my friendship circle, it's based on values. If you haven't thought about what your values are, and your value is, what's your value? What do you value that drives why you do things? Because obviously it's not Martha Stewart-esque.
I will never have a gay apartment.
Knew that was coming.
No, I mean, gay guys like surfaces are clean, everything. However, when my ex and I, our house upstate, I cluttered a little bit in it, but I was very careful because I was sharing the space with him. Although, believe it or not, he has ADHD clutter issues himself in his apartment. We're not together anymore, which he didn't first acknowledge and then finally did. And Jenny went and worked for him actually a couple of times. Anyway, for some reason, we were able to keep that in a way that you would have walked in and said, oh my God, these guys are gay. You know what I mean? But when you walk into my apartment, you're like, oh, what straight guy is living in this apartment? Am I stereotyping? Yes.
Who hurt him? Values, right? So if you value your legacy, you value friendships and community, you value now, recently, you're valuing motivating other people and mobilizing. You value those things in society that you care about, and you value that shit so much more than you value how many sugar packets you have in your house. And that's great.
I don't have sugar packets. Not my thing.
Not trying to. It's not a specific.
I mean,
but you know what I mean. And maybe I have to remember that when it comes to I'm 56 years old.
But he looks good, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm not going to all of a sudden get a bottom of my closet clean. It doesn't matter.
Clothes on the floor makes me crazy too, by the way, but I actually do end up hanging them up. But that's another.
I live with a guy who is so uninterested in any of that. And he's not doing it deliberately as to affect me or
it's not personal.
It's not personal. On the other hand, after a while, you're like, okay, it's been 7 years of every day of your life, my picking up your socks and putting them somewhere.
He's not changing.
He's not changing. And I talked to an earlier therapist and said, I'm just going to leave them there. And she's like, that's a great idea. But I couldn't live with it.
And how much time, when you do pick up his socks, about how much time does that take you in a week? 3 hours, 2 hours, 1 hour, half hour?
Maximum of 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Are there other things like that?
Yeah.
So,
but they're the price of admission.
A very wise therapist said to me, what would you pay yourself by the hour to do that job? And I use that rule all the time.
Love that.
What is my time worth? And I would prefer to pay someone who actually needs the job.
Love that rule.
So that's what I have done.
Yeah. And you pay very generously.
Because my mother was thrifty and she left me.
Even though she murdered your dog.
No, I think they were all given to no-kill shelters because
Let's go with that. Let's go with that.
Let's
they all went to Bide-A-Wee.
That's why I'm cluttered because of my parents did it because of my dog trauma.
That's it. We just had a breakthrough, folks.
Yes.
No, I love what you just said because that is a really good piece of advice. If you think about that, it's not always practical to do that in your life. Like I can't hire somebody to do my dishes necessarily, even though that's a total waste of my time. So what my dad said was, be that as it may, right? You should hire the people that are not what you charge by the hour or what you're worth, right? Not always practical to do that. So you can do that as much as possible.
Right. I mean, it's not to come in for 10 minutes a day, you know, although that would be nice.
If you're forced to do something.
Can I just say something funny about this? You know, when you're older and sometimes you're assigned someone to help you out at home, but when you're younger, like you don't want that. And then when you're entitled to it, older people, they can't stand having someone doing stuff for them. It's like naps are wasted on the young. It's just one of those things.
You get set in your ways.
But I mean, wouldn't it be great to have that person now?
I think it's absolutely true. I'm not gonna learn how to change my own oil or spend that time doing it. Okay, I'm going to bring my car in.
That is hot.
Okay, if you could. Don't value that, and it's not worth it's not a good use of my time.
No.
When I can in my own business, I can scale up and hire from 1 assistant to 7 people to do all those things that I suck at and are not a good use of my time, like formatting documents. Margins are right. Hate that shit. But what my dad taught me was, if you have to do it, if somehow you're forced into it, right? You lost your job, you're sick and recovering from something and you have to start over again, then take pride in whatever it is you're doing and do the best job you can and understand how that fits into the world. And the example they always use is typical, Jewish example, which is if you have to shovel elephant shit, be the best elephant shit shoveler. And if you think Zen about it, and if you think, like dishes, use all those opportunities to better yourself.
It's so funny you say dishes. You know why? I have a dishwasher. I love playing with water. It's the one thing I don't mind is doing dishes because I'm playing with water. Isn't that?
I hate it. But also, I want to talk about garbage. Like you and I should have both learned the lesson that a lot of the stuff you think you're going to need winds up going in the garbage. It's especially true with papers. And this is the point about only handling them once. If you handle them once, with the exception of stuff like your passport and your birth certificate and your marriage license and your vaccine records, if you put all that stuff in the garbage, you'd never be at a loss.
Well, hopefully shred it because people go through, go through my garbage. You want to know? I do have a pile of papers in my apartment, which I unearthed in one of my archaeological digs. The city of New York has developed this new housing thing where they're jamming through building 75,000 new housing units. And it'll be, the community boards won't have as much of a say and the local council member won't. And this is a big deal to me because I worked on land use and zoning plans. Just one of the reasons I got elected was because I helped neighborhoods do land use and zoning plans, always responsible, always allowing for some development, always having affordable housing, always allowing businesses to, and this just runs a bulldozer over it. So I saved several community boards where they're smart people, what their objections were to it. I won't need it forever, but for now, I want to hang on to it because I'm going to bleep and fight everything if they play with especially the Chelsea plan, which, oh my gosh, I traded away places. I can't even say because people, it doesn't matter. What are they going to do now? Not elect me? But in order to get things low-rise and make the historic district bigger, I had to give up some places where I allowed them to build bigger buildings. So there are places where you can build bigger buildings. You don't make any more places. I already gave you plenty of places to build bigger buildings. So don't mess with our Chelsea plan. I mean, I helped author it, but we all approved it. I shepherded it through the city council.
Can we talk about how?
So that's why I have that pile of paper.
What are the steps? By the way, I think that's really important. One of my mentors taught me that the person who wins the argument or the case or the precedent is the one with the best notes. So keep your notes.
Okay, you want to give Tom Marine strategy? You want me to give it away?
Yeah, please do.
Whoever writes the resolution controls the debate.
Right. There's a big difference between whether your contract says shall or will. So,
and laws.
Can we talk about pick one of the things you accomplished, like Brashi housing or like the gay marriage resolution,
or the Chelsea plan,
and outline the steps. What are the things you had to get organized? How do you start? What are the transitions? How do you keep yourself from getting bogged down with the wrong stuff? How do you what are the, if you can give 3 pieces of advice?
Sometimes things are an accident. Sometimes things aren't something you've planned, but it comes in front of you and you're like, oh, I know how to do this. I could do this. This is important. I didn't think of this before. Now I'm going to do it. So for instance, the Chelsea plan, there was a professor at Columbia who was a land use professor, and it was his idea that neighborhoods could empower themselves and do their own land use and development plans, land use and zoning plans. And the interesting thing is the city had passed a new charter in 1989, and there was a little section in it that allowed for community boards to put forward their own land use and zoning plans. And he brought it to my local community board, and we studied it. We got his students to help us study it. What industries were already existing there? Like the far west side was filled with like porno stuff. It's all art galleries now, but it was porn at the time. And where there was high density housing, where there were vacant lots, where there were now a lot of manufacturing facilities that were no longer being used as manufacturing facilities. There were a lot of lots that became lots because the zoning said manufacturing only, and there was no new manufacturing coming in. So it was wasted space where we could put in other commercial things, offices and apartments. And so we studied all of that. We involved the entire neighborhood. We had hearings with different groups, the preservationists, the business community, the housing advocates, and we listened to what everybody had to say, and we wrote up this plan. It was the first one initiated in New York City. It wasn't the first one that got passed, but it was this professor saying, you know what, I think that your area would be a good place to try this out. And I was good at it.
Somebody had to run with it.
Yes, and I was good to go. And I was not the author of it. I was an author of it. That's the other difference. Even when in my campaign literature, I was a member of. Sometimes I was an active member of. Sometimes I was a founding member. I don't think I was ever. I was the founder of something. Very careful about the language I use.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Especially when we talk about the.
I want to share.
Act up.
Yes, I was a body and actor. Right. They had plenty of leaders. They didn't need anything but bodies, and I was happy to be a body. And I learned a lot, by the way, about civil disobedience, which I then was able to use in other ways. So it was all good.
But you're talking now about building a community where everybody does what they're good at. There's always a place for everybody, no matter what their skills are.
Yes. If you want to do more of it, just watch what people are doing and you say, oh, I could do that. Or you say, you know what, I could do that, but something else is more important than I'm going to do.
Right. It's a better use of my skills or my time.
Exactly.
Don't overbook yourself when you're organizing.
Oh, but by the way, I did use ACT UP for something. For Brashi. I went to all the ACT UP meetings, and not just to meet boys, which is why some people went there. No judgment. And I brought postcards with me for people to sign to get the governor to support changing the law so that Brashi would become the law. It became the law in a court case, but it just built up momentum. I did that. So Active was a very powerful place because this issue came to a head because of the people dying of AIDS and their partners not being on the lease. But I went to every community board with the same organizing thing, and I got them all to support it, et cetera, et cetera. And it got me into a movie, How to Survive a Plague. I'm in that.
That's right.
So I'm in an Academy Award nominated film. I have a cameo, and I look pretty good in it too, making a fiery speech about people being allowed to stay in their homes.
I think this is an important lesson, which is if you had stayed home during that period to Martha Stewartize your house, polish tables, because that's what you valued, then we would not be having this conversation now about the world changing. And I'm not shaming people who the way you do about gay people's apartments.
I wish I could do both. Some people can.
Yeah.
You know. I can't hang up pictures in my own apartment. I could hang up pictures in your apartment, but I have a hard time hanging up pictures in my apartment. I have a hard time, I can hang up pictures. I can rearrange your furniture. I can make your apartment neater. I just can't do my own. That's part of my sickness. That's not a sickness. That's part of my skill is that I can do it for you. I just can't do it for me.
Can we allow Charles to do it in the office? Because it's never going to happen.
Oh, no, absolutely. Okay. Oh, I cannot wait for that because it's a treasure trove in the office of stuff for the archives and also stuff that you throw. By the way, there's boxes and boxes of stuff that I put that would be great for fundraising, and I'm not sure I'm never going to fundraise again. I'm not going to fundraise to run for office, but I might fundraise for something else. And I'm not going to give away this strategy, but I have a strategy, and that's why I save a bunch of these newspapers because they are of value if I ever want to fundraise for a cause. So
I'll tell that to the fire chief.
No, it's not. They're contained in.
Who's the guy who got buried by his own piles?
The Collier brothers. So it's Collier brothers. So could you do something in my apartment if you walked in?
Could I?
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, but would you throw out stuff that I didn't want you to throw out? Would you be?
No, I would put a corner and call it for your review.
Okay.
I would never throw somebody's stuff out because I'm aware of first of all, that would trump. First of all, it's none of my business to throw it out. It's I don't know why.
Stop there. It was not really I wouldn't let you throw anything out anyway, but I throw my body in front of you.
Let's watch what we do at the office first with all the help we have now because we've got 4 assistants, if you include me, and we'll just organize it really simply.
You know how my office is organized now? You know why it's organized that way? It was for fundraising purposes. However, for the purposes of what we're doing now, I don't want facing each other. I want next to each other where we can pass things back and forth, not across the table, but back and forth will work better for me.
The first step is to separate everything out so that there is stuff that has to go to the archive, stuff that we're going to use for the book, stuff that has to do, and Neil's already.
I do want to make something clear. The way things are organized, not how I would have organized it from the get-go. It was someone else that organized it. You know him. He did all of that, and I didn't want to take the time to undo it and do it the way I would do it because that seemed like a waste of time. And it happened in another situation with him. I have a lot of books, and I have my own Dewey Decimal System. I have gay books I've read, gay books I haven't read, biographies I read, biographies I haven't read, books that I'm, never going to read again. I thought and then I'm going to give away to some school that needs a library. And I said to this person, do not put the books in the bookcases. I will put them in myself. And I came home one day and all the fucking books were in bookcases. And I didn't know where any of the books were. I couldn't find anything. But did I want to take the time to take all the books down and put them back in boxes and then put them back up in the order I wanted to? No.
How long has it been since then?
It was very traumatic. I'm telling you, it was a nightmare.
3 years?
Yes, that's longer than ever before. It's the longest that I have gone with.
You're happier with having put everything back in the boxes?
May I mention to you something? I appeared in the Village Voice with my apartment being highlighted with the Village Voice. Who's that actor that just won another Academy Award? The thin, slender.
Adrian Brody.
Yeah, his mother took photographs, and I'm actually in the book that she wrote too. Of people's apartments, and every week there would be an apartment highlighted in the Village Voice. And my apartment was one of the ones that was highlighted in the Village Voice. There's a picture of me on my couch, which looks purple. It was actually blue, and it's like almost a seductive picture. But my apartment was fine. It was not gay organized, but you could eat off the floor. However, yeah, a little clutter, but I love that she took the picture and she talked about the apartment. And
well, again, we'll put you in Fire Safety Weekly. So when it comes to organizing our lives, I think if it's values based and purpose based, like I need to get my apartment organized because I want to start having meetings here, then there's a reason why you're doing it, and it's part of your greater purpose. If there's an imbalance, like we talked about earlier, where you're not happy but you're not doing it, another good reason.
My apartment's not set up for meetings. I haven't had meetings in my apartment until I got elected since I was elected to office, because then I always had a place that had a conference table where meetings could take place.
I was just using that as an example.
No, I'm just saying. So that's why I was saying, why don't I have meetings in my apartment? Because I have a fucking office with a conference table in it to have meetings in.
For me, in terms of my values, I want to be more purpose-based and more kind of mission-based, the way that you've been talking, where certain things don't matter as much, including whether there's a box of papers in the corner. I personally couldn't live with a cardboard box sitting in my hallway for more than 2 days after I moved somewhere. But that's me. And if it doesn't matter, and I want to do it because it makes me more comfortable to, have things where they live.
I experience you as a workhorse. I'm so surprised to hear you say that things hold you back, because this is how I experience you. I mean, you're saying otherwise, you're feeling otherwise, but to me, you're incredibly productive, industrious, to the point of not enough. Like, I think, well, I'll keep it. Not that you. Can I say? Do you mind? Like, you live in New York. Let's go to the Whitney. You know what I mean? I'm a member. I used to go all the time. Why don't I go now? But if I make plans to go with you, we'll go to the Whitney. And you know what? It'll be more productive after we finish going there.
You say that, but it's always a distraction from getting work done. And
yes, exactly. But but you know what? It can make you more creative and productive at this. So there's in my mind, there's not a downside to that.
I appreciate that.
And you're an artist.
Yeah. Folks, it's ostensibly about organizing, because we're trying to organize a book and we're trying to organize an army of detractors against this death of democracy.
Ugh,
so we do have to get organized. But we're getting organized because we're only here for a finite amount of time, and we need to live up to the blessing of our consciousness.
And don't not do stuff because
Right.
you don't feel that everything is perfect in your life.
Right. Yeah, I had that experience last night with a friend who I sometimes write with, and I really was depressed and didn't want to talk to him. I had no energy whatsoever, and I was just like, like when you were a kid and you didn't want to go to school and you're trying to figure out how to tell your parents that you just decided and it feels so good, even though there's going to be shitty consequences and tomorrow will be worse. The long story short is I took a shower and I did it, and it was good that I did it. And I got distracted and I got passionate. So, yeah.
So when in doubt, take a shower.
When in doubt, yeah, change your
change your environment.
Yeah, change your environment. Change it up a little bit, and just remember that it's just getting over that hump, like getting out of bed in the morning or getting through the shower. Because once you get into your day, I think if you're blessed and lucky, it's worthwhile. And there's a lot you can do to make the day worthwhile. But there's only so much time. Consciousness is some kind of magic miracle, and we have to live up to that gift, because once it's gone, as far as we know. So let's try to be there for each other. Let's try to do good things. Let's try to, prevent bad shit from happening, and let's get together and know that we're there for each other the way we are on this show. You don't say.
And
Conversations with
we keep doing it.
We are grateful to be here for now at P&T Knitwear on Orchard Street on the beautiful Lower East Side. Our help from Sam Small, our
Loving her.
Post-production.
Loving her.
Yeah, she's here during as an engineer, and she helps us a lot.
She got rid of the buzz.
She got rid of the buzz. She kept us calm during the blazing fire. We are also grateful for Angel Newhem Valenzuela, for Neil P. Connolly, and for Charles Sanchez.
Yes, because now our social media is not going to look like I'm doing it.
Right. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
This has been You Don't Say, conversations with the loquacious Mr. Duane, featuring former New York State Senator Thomas Duane and former Professor Blake Newhem Valenzuela. We are produced by Sound Small at P&T Network on Orchard Street. Associate producers are Neil Patrick Connolly, Angel Newhem Valenzuela, and Charles Sanchez. Music by Notice. We are sponsored by Tom Duane Strategies and the Ghost of the Future, with the support of the Gay Officers Action League, a fraternal organization of the NYPD. Immigration Equality New York, and the Victory Fund, as well as our sister television media, The Recruiters, streaming worldwide on Manhattan Neighborhood Network.